Gowan Bank, Oulton, Warwickshire. Nature Notes for 1906 by Edith Holden.
Edith Holden was one of 7 children of a wealthy Midlands paint manufacturer, Arthur Holden. At the age of 35, she still lived at home with her family in the small village of Oulton in Warwickshire. She taught drawing and painting in a local school and spent a great deal of time alone and with her pupils in the surrounding countryside. Her way of life seemed settled, but then she met Ernest Smith, the young sculptor from London, 7 years her junior. In 1911, they were married and moved to London, where Edith worked as a professional painter and illustrator from their home in Chelsea. The marriage survived through many of the traumas of the time until Edith's tragic death 9 years later. In 1920, in her 49th year, she drowned in the Thames at Kew while gathering buds from chestnut trees. Amongst her private work, her nature diary survived and remained in her husband's family. More than 50 years after her death, Edith Holden's Nature Notes for 1906 were published as The Country Diary of an Edwardian Lady.
Gowan Bank, Oulton, Warwickshire. Nature Notes for 1906.
To sit on rocks, to muse o'er flood and fell, to slowly trace the forest's shady scene, where things that own not man's dominion dwell, and mortal foot hath ne'er or rarely been. To climb the trackless mountain all unseen, with the wild flock that never need a fold. Alone, o'er steeps and foaming falls to lean, this is not solitude, 'tis but to hold converse with nature's charms, and view her stores unrolled. January, named from the Roman god Janus, who is represented with 2 faces looking in opposite directions, as retrospective to the past and prospective to the coming year. The blackest month of all the year is the month of Janvier. January 1st, New Year's Day, bright and cold with a hard frost. January 5th, great gale of wind and rain from the southwest. The leaves, which in the autumn of the year fall, auburn-tinted, leaving reft and bare their parent trees, in many a sheltered lair where winter waits and watches, cold, austere, will be in drifts. And when the snowdrops cheer the woodland shadows, still the leaves are there, though through the glades the balmy southern air and birds and boughs proclaim that spring is here. January the 11th. Visited a small wood on the canal bank to get violet leaves. On moving away some of the dead leaves lying beneath the trees, I discovered a wild arum plant thrusting its white sheath up from the soil. When I removed the outer covering, the pale yellow leaves with dark spots were quite discernible, rolled tightly round each other and beautifully packed away inside the white skin. January 23rd. Sharp frost and thick fog in the early morning. The fog cleared off about 9:30 a.m. and the sun shone brightly. Went for a country walk. Every twig on every tree and bush was outlined in silver tracery against the sky. Some of the dead grasses and seed vessels growing by the roadside were specially beautiful, every detail of them sparkling with frost crystals in the sunshine. I saw great flocks of rooks and starlings down in the fields, and a pair of beautiful bullfinches in a hawthorn bush. The mild winter has brought out the hazel catkins wonderfully early. The small green flowers are fully expanded on some of the catkins, and the pretty little red stars of the female flowers are appearing. The green leaves are out on the woodbine too, making little spots of green among the undergrowth. January 27th. Primroses, polyanthus, winter aconite, merserian and snowdrops are all in flower in the garden. Every mild morning now the birds are singing, and they continue more or less throughout the day. January 29th. Ploughing and hedging and ditching are going on everywhere. Today I picked some daisies in a field and saw some yew in blossom. Daisies, ye flowers of lowly birth, embroiderers of the carpet earth that gem the velvet sod. Child of the year, that round dost run thy pleasant course, when day's begun as ready to salute the sun as lark or leveret, thy long-lost praise thou shalt regain, nor be less dear to future men than in old time. Thou art not vain, art nature's favourite.
All seasons shall be sweet to thee, whether the summer clothe the general earth with greenness, or the redbreast sit and sing betwixt the tufts of snow on the bare branch of mossy apple tree, while the nigh thatch smokes in the sun thaw, whether the eavesdrops fall, heard only in the trances of the blast, or if the secret ministry of frost shall hang them up in silent icicles, quietly shining to the quiet moon.
Ploughing and hedging and ditching are going on everywhere. This has been a wonderfully mild January.
One month is past, another is begun, since merry bells rang out the dying year, and buds of rarest green began to peer as if impatient for a warmer sun. And though the distant hills are bleak and dun, the virgin snowdrop, like a lambent fire, pierces the cold earth with its green streaked spire, and in dark woods the wandering little one may find a primrose. February. This month derives its name from the word februare, to purify, or from Februa, the Roman festival of expiation which was celebrated through the latter part of this month. In ordinary years there are 28 days in February, but in leap year, 29. February the 1st. Dull day with slight drizzle of rain. February the 2nd. Candlemas Day. Wild and stormy. February the 9th. Snowstorm in the night. This morning we looked out on a white landscape. This is the first deep snow we have had this winter. I swept a space free on the lawn and strewed it with bread and rice. Crowds of birds came. I counted 8 tits at one time on the coconut and tripod of sticks supporting it. One took possession of the coconut, sitting down in the middle of it and bidding defiance to all the others. February the 12th. Visited the violet wood again today. The ground in the wood is covered with tiny seedlings of muscatel, and the violet roots are sending up little green trumpets of new leaves. The elm trees are just breaking into blossom, and the willows are showing their downy white catkins, very small as yet. February the 15th. Walking home from Solihull this afternoon, I noticed a number of gnats dancing in the bright sunshine. I saw 2 little shrew mice in different places on the bank. The Erd shrew, or shrew mouse, inhabits subterranean tunnels which it excavates in the soil. It feeds upon insects and worms, and its long, flexible nose is a great aid to it in its search after food. The shrew cannot endure a protracted fast. It is suggested that the many dead shrews which are found in the autumn on country roads and footpaths owe their deaths to starvation. The reason that their dead bodies are not carried off for food by weasels or owls probably exists in the strong odour which exhales from the shrew. In country districts, a superstitious fear and hatred was formerly entertained against this pretty and harmless little animal. February the 24th. Cycled to Packwood through Solihull and Bentley Heath. I passed a rookery on the way. The rooks were all very busy building up their old nests, and a great deal of chatter they made over it. Everywhere the branches of the willow bushes were tipped with downy white balls, and the alder catkins were showing very red.
Come on, little fella. You're home.
Wee, sleekit, cowering, timorous beastie. Oh, what a panic see thy breastie. Now needna start away so hasty with bickering brattle. I would be loath to rin and chase thee with murdering pattle. Thou saw the field laid bare and waste, and weary winter coming fast. And cosy here beneath the blast thou thought to dwell, till crash! The cruel coulter passed out through thy cell.
February the 28th, Ash Wednesday. We have had more winter weather this February than any other month this winter. This month was called Martius by the Romans, from the god Mars, and it received the name Hlyd Monarth, that is loud or stormy month, from the Anglo-Saxons. March shall search ye, April try ye, May'll tell whether live or die ye. March hack ham, comes in like a lion, goes out like a lamb. March the 1st. March has come in like a lamb, with a warm wind from the southwest. March the 4th. Glorious sunshine. First warm day of spring. Went for a long walk. All the skylarks are up and singing in the blue. Found the coltsfoot and speedwell in flower. Down at the edge of a copse where a little stream ran, the celandine buds were very large. Another week or two of warm weather will bring them all quite out. Everywhere the birds were very active, and such a chorus of voices from every hedge and tree. The stormy March is come at last, with wind and cloud and changing skies. I hear the rushing of the blast that through the snowy valley flies. Ah, passing few are they who speak wild, stormy month in praise of thee. Yet though thy winds are loud and bleak, thou art a welcome month to me. For thou to northern lands again the glad and glorious sun dost bring, and thou hast joined the gentle train, and wear'st the gentle name of spring. March the 10th. cycled to the withy beds within half a mile of bushwood. As I spun along between the hedges, I saw numbers of birds carrying on their house-building operations. I went a little out of my way, down the lane to Kingswood, to visit the steep banks where the blue periwinkle grows. I had to carry my cycle nearly a quarter of a mile down a steep muddy ford rough, set thick with thorns with high banks on each side. On these sheltered banks, I found numbers of the small celandine blossom and the first flowers of the little strawberry-leaved cinquefoil. When I got to the bottom of the lane, I set my bicycle against a bank and picnicked by a fence. A beautiful jay, in all the glory of his spring plumage, flew screaming across the lane into a spinney of larch trees opposite. He seemed to resent the intrusion of a human being in such an unfrequented spot. I was glad to find the periwinkle still trailing its wreaths on the bank. A yellow bunting was perched up on top of the hedge, repeating his cry. One can hardly call it a song. With its last peculiar, long, drawn-out note over and over again. A little bit of bread and no cheese, the country people liken it to.
And the spring arose on the garden fair, like the spirit of love felt everywhere. And each flower and herb on earth's dark breast rose from the dreams of its wintry rest. The snowdrop, and then the violet, arose from the ground with warm rain wet, and their breath was mixed with sweet odour sent from the turf like the voice and the instrument.
Daffodils that come before the swallow dares and take the winds of March with beauty.
Daffy Dan Dilly has come up to town in her yellow petticoat and her green gown.
March the 20th. Went to the daffodil field again. The buds have broken into yellow. Found 2 thrushes' nests, both in holly bushes. One nest was empty. The bird was sitting on the other. She looked at me with such brave, bright eyes I could not disturb her, much as I would have liked a peep at her speckled blue eggs. How sweet the hedge that hides a cunning nest and curtains off a patient, bright-eyed thrush with 5 small worlds beneath her mottled breast. At last the thin blue veils are backward furled. Existence pipes into a bird as infant music bursts into the world.
That's the wise thrush. He sings his song twice over, lest you should think he never could recapture that first, fine, careless rapture. March 31st. It has been a very cold month. There were 2 or 3 bright, genial days in the first week that were like a foretaste of summer. April. When daisies red and violets blue, and ladies' smocks all silver white, and cuckoo buds of yellow hue do paint the meadows with delight.
April the 1st. Very still, grey day. I went to a little spinney to see a large bush of the great round-leaved willow, which is a perfect picture just now, covered all over with great golden catkins that light up the copse like hundreds of little fairy lamps. The bees were humming all round it, busy gathering the pollen. April the 7th. The tadpoles have come out of their balls of jelly and career madly about the aquarium, wagging their little black tails. A gudgeon which had been put into the aquarium has made a meal of a good many of them. April the 9th. Travelled down to Stoke Bishop near Bristol. The low-lying, fertile lands round the Avon in Worcestershire were golden with marsh marigolds, and I saw a good many cowslips. The plum and damson trees were all in blossom. April the 10th. Travelled on to Dowsland on Dartmoor. Primroses thick all along the line. April the 11th. Glorious day. The wild strawberry, early vetch and greater stitchwort are in blossom here. In the afternoon, I went up onto the moor to bring home a pony and foal. April the 12th. Painted the pony and colt all morning in the field. Very hot sun and cool breeze. April the 13th, Good Friday. Went to Borough Tor and down into Meavy Glen. The wood sorrel and primroses were very plentiful, growing among the boulders and roots of the trees. The ash trees are all in flower. And some of the young sycamore trees are in full flower and leaf. While we were resting on the bank of a river, we saw a heron rise through the trees on the opposite slope and sail away over the wood, the pink and grey tints of his legs and plumage showing up very distinctly against the brown background of bare trees. Cowslips. Of all the spring joys, the dearest is to drink thy breath again, freshest of flowers. The bluebell lights the copse, the primrose paves the glen, but thy frank beauty overtops in open fields the new-born grass, to meet the kiss of sun and wind and showers, and yield spring's essence from those fire-red drops that dyed the breast of Imogen. April the 14th. Saw the first swallow and a yellow brimstone butterfly. April the 17th. Walking through the fields, came upon quite a grove of young cherry trees in blossom, growing all along the top of one of the banks. The wall banks that divide the fields here and run along the lanes are beginning to be enamelled with little flowers and ferns, and on the broad tops, crowned with low hedges, the bluebells are very thick. The blackthorn bushes are a wonderful sight just now, their masses of snowy blossom making a striking contrast with the deep gold of the gorse. April the 22nd. Went to Bickley Vale. The tall, handsome plants of the wood spurge were very conspicuous with their red stalks and pale green flowers. In one little open glade, we came upon a bush of golden broomflower. We found the shining cranesbill, herb robert, and ivy-leaved toadflax in flower. A water ouzel skimmed across the river and in under the archway of the old grey stone bridge, every cranny of which was green with tiny ferns. April the 23rd saw 2 live vipers which had been brought in from the moor. The gentleman who had captured them handled them quite fearlessly. He showed me the 2 little pink fangs in the upper jaw. When on the ground, they reared themselves up and hissed and struck repeatedly at a walking stick. April the 29th, heavy snow shower in the night. When I looked out this morning, the landscape was all white.
Oh, how this spring of love resembleth the uncertain glory of an April day, which now shows all the beauty of the sun, and by, a cloud takes all away.
April the 30th, cold northeast wind with frequent showers but bright intervals.
The latter part of April has been very cold and stormy.
May. The name of this month is of doubtful origin. Ancient writers suggest it to be derived from Maia, the mother of Mercury, to whom the Romans were accustomed to sacrifice on the first day of the month. May Day is the name given to the first day of the month in England, when, in old days, the people went out at dawn to welcome the advent of spring. May the 1st. Weather still cold and showery, with bright intervals of sunshine. Travel towards home from Dartmoor up to Bristol. The country is looking much more beautiful than when I came through it 3 weeks ago. The hedges are all green. The primroses are still thick on the banks. Many of the orchards in blossom. And the oaks are showing the first signs of golden bronze foliage. May the 3rd. Warm southwest wind after heavy fall of rain. Gathered some wild pear blossom. Saw 2 hen blackbirds sitting on their nests, one in a hollow tree. The crabapple is only in bud here, as are the wild hyacinths. May the 5th. Saw a pair of whitethroats today down Widney Lane. They were evidently rivals and were chasing each other through the bushes, singing loudly all the time. By the Blythe, I saw a very handsome pair of black-headed buntings. In the meadows alongside the stream, there was a fine display of marsh marigolds and ladies' smocks all silver white. Here I gathered the crosswork bedstraw. May the 7th. Weather very close and sultry. I was stooping down to gather some cowslips today in a marshy spinney in Elmdon Park, when a robin fled out over my hand from under the roots of an alder tree growing close by me. In a cavity was placed the nest, which contained 5 eggs. The crabapple trees and bushes are looking very beautiful now, covered with pink blossom and crimson buds. May the 14th. Visited the violet wood this evening. It is quite green and shady there now. The ground was covered with wild arums, all in flower, their pale green spathes gleaming out very conspicuously against the red earthen banks where the rabbits burrow. Some of the sheaths were spotted, and I found one deep reddish purple in colour. The large, handsome green leaves that were so beautiful in early spring are now beginning to wither away as the flowers attain maturity. I noticed the flower just coming on the beach, scarcely distinguishable from the tender green foliage. Oak apples are plentiful now on the oak trees.
While earth herself is adorning this sweet May morning, and the children are culling on every side, in 1,000 valleys far and wide, fresh flowers, while the sun shines warm and the babe leaps up on its mother's arm. Then sing, ye birds, sing, sing a joyous song, and let the young lambs bound as to the tabor's sound. We in thought will join your throng, ye that pipe and ye that play, ye that through your hearts today feel the gladness of the May.
Whoever lives true life will love true love. I learnt to love that England. Very oft, before the day was born, or otherwise through secret windings of the afternoons, I threw my hunters off and plunged myself among the deep hills as a hunted stag will take the waters, shivering with the fear and passion of the course. And when at last escaped, so many a green slope built on slope betwixt me and the enemy's house behind, I dared to rest, or wander in a rest made sweeter by the step upon the grass, and view the ground's most gentle dimplement, as if God's finger touched, but did not press, in making England. Such nooks of valleys lined with orchises, and open pastures where you scarcely tell white daisies from white dew. At intervals, the mythic oaks and elm trees standing out self-poised upon their prodigy of shade. I thought my father's land was worthy too of being my Shakespeare's. May the 19th. The hedgerows are haunted by young fledglings, chiefly blackbirds and thrushes. May the 29th. Saw some dog daisies in flower on the railway bank. May has been a cold, stormy month. In the old Latin calendar, June was the 4th month. Ovid states that this month received its name in honour of Juno. Probably, however, it has an agricultural reference and denoted the month in which crops grow to ripeness. June the 1st, northwest wind. Heavy thunderstorm morning and afternoon. June the 3rd, bright and sunny. The first summer's day we have had. Many of the meadows are golden with buttercups, and some of the fields are showing quite red where the sorrel is coming into flower. June the 6th, another glorious June day. Drove with a large party to Yarningdale Common, through Knowle, Baddesley Clinton, Wroxhall and Shrewley. The common was covered with short grass and furze bushes and smelled deliciously of thyme. There were any number of little flowers growing on the turf, quantities of purple and red milkwort, tormentil, meadow lousewort, heath bedstraw, and 2 species of vetch and 2 of speedwell. There were great numbers of birds, chiefly linnets and warblers, flitting about among the furze. I also noticed a pair of windchats and some titlarks. We discovered 8 birds' nests in the patches of gorse and bramble, a yellowhammer's, 2 linnets, a whitethroat's, a willow warbler's, a greenfinch's and 2 thrushes. Most of the nests had young ones in, but the yellowhammers contained 3 eggs. There were a good many small heath butterflies flying about the common, and meadow browns and garden whites were plentiful. The only other butterfly I saw was the orange tip.
He loves me not. He loves me. He loves me!
June the 15th. I was quite surprised to come upon a bank of beautiful purple foxgloves today, fully out. These are the first I have seen in flower. The birds still sing morning and evening, but there is not nearly such a full choir as there was a month ago. The cares and responsibilities of large families of hungry fledglings make too many demands on the time and attention of the anxious parents. It is very pretty to see the house martins sitting in the roadway collecting mud for their nests. Their short feathered legs look as if they had little white socks on. June 24th. Midsummer Day.
The cuckoo is beginning to change his tune. A little later he will be saying, "Cook, cuckoo." There are a good many rhymes about the cuckoo.
In April, cuckoo sings his lay. In May, I sing all day. In June, I change my tune. In July, away I fly.
June 25th. Went for a long country walk through Catherine de Barnes, Hampton in Arden, Bickenhill and Elmdon. Everywhere the lanes were fragrant with wild roses and honeysuckle, and the breeze came to us over the hedges laden with the perfume of the clover fields and grass meadows. The grasses of all kinds were lovely, all along the wayside. I found the meadow sweet in bloom in many places. Gathered self-heal and great burnet among the meadow grass, and dogwood, and the white, waxen blossoms of the trailing rose from the hedges. We picnicked under a hedge, with pink and white clover bloom and tall grasses nodding round our heads, while a pair of excited robins chattered and fluttered in the bushes around us, evidently very curious as to what we were about down in their field corner. Saw a great number of beautiful little dragonflies, pale blue with black markings, at a wayside pond, and yellow water lilies on Elmdon Park Pool.
June has been a very hot month, with a large percentage of sunshine. July the 1st. Fine, but dull, with breeze from the northwest. The Anglo-Saxons called July Moed Monad, or Mead Month, from the meadows being then in bloom. July the 7th. Cycled to Knowle through Wydney. The hedges are a tangle of wildflowers now. There is a fine show of wild roses. Both the earlier dog roses and the later white trailing variety are in full bloom. In many places, the hedges are festooned with wreaths of black bryony and honeysuckle. The pale pink blackberry blossoms and the large white masses of elder blossom are everywhere conspicuous. Climbing up the banks to meet them are tall purple foxgloves and nodding heads of grasses heavy with pollen, mingled with purple and yellow vetches and clover blossom. July the 11th. Went by train to Knowle and walked across the fields to Packwood. Haymaking was going on in most of the fields, but the grass was still uncut in the church meadows. Being low-lying and marshy, there were numbers of flowers growing among the grasses, quantities of the deep crimson heads of the great burnet, dog daisies, self-heal, yellow rattle, knapweed, spotted orchis, and yellow and purple vetches. I picked a great bunch of quaking grass. By the roadside I gathered greater trefoil, white and pink mallow, St. John's wort, and rose bay willow herb. July the 21st. Cycled to Baddesley and walked from there to Bolsall Temple. I knew the wild Canterbury bell, creeping campanula, used to grow by the streams there years ago, and I was anxious to find it again. Nor was I disappointed. The tall spikes of purple bells were very conspicuous, growing in a deep ditch among masses of meadowsweet and nettles, into the midst of which I valiantly plunged, though the nettles met over my head and didn't fail to remind me of their presence. I crossed the meadows to the bank of the little river where the purple loosestrife or long purples was just coming into flower. There, too, I found some of the blue meadow cranesbill. All along the stream were great quantities of water figwort and the pretty little unbranched burr reed with its balls of pale gold. The large water forget-me-not was rampant everywhere.
Lanteri has today agreed to my holiday. So long as you are still happy to see me, I shall travel up in the second week of August. I look forward to many more walks together.
The cushats cry for me, the lovely laughter of the wind-swayed wheat, the easy slope of yonder pastoral hill. The sedgy brook whereby the red kine meet and wade and drink their fill. Then the green rushes, oh so glossy green, the rushes they would whisper, rustle, shake, and forth on floating gauze, no jewelled queen so rich, the green-eyed dragonflies would break and hover on the flowers, aerial things, with little rainbows flickering on their wings. July the 31st, close and sultry. This month bears the highest record for heat of any this summer. August the 1st. Warm, bright day with southwest breezes. Fairest of months, ripe summer's queen, the heyday of the year, with robes that gleam with sunny sheen, sweet August doth appear. August the 4th. Went to a cornfield to gather poppies, but a heavy shower early in the day had dashed most of the blooms. Found 3 different species of persicaria growing among the corn, and quantities of harebells on the field banks. August the 11th. Travelled to Callander in Perthshire.
There is no breeze upon the fern, no ripple on the lake. Upon her eyrie nods the ern, the deer has sought the brake. The small birds will not sing aloud, the springing trout lies still. So darkly looms yon thunder cloud, that swathes as with a purple shroud Ben Ledy's distant hill.
August the 14th. Went to Oban and back by the West Highland Railway. Quantities of wildflowers all along the route. On the banks, goldenrod, bluebells and heather. And in the bogs and marshlands, meadowsweet, willow herb, trefoil, knapweed, and a small kind of scabious. August the 17th. Cycled to Aberfoyle by the Lake of Menteith. Very bright, clear day, with wonderfully fine distant views. Growing among the heather on the high ridge of hills between Aberfoyle and the Trossachs, I found the bright scarlet berries of the bearberry, and sundew in flower. Found some gentian beside Loch Venacher. Cycled back by Loch Acray, Loch Katrine and Loch Venacher. August the 23rd. Went to sketch Highland cattle on the Putting Stone Hill. Found numbers of beautiful little purple heartsease growing on the short turf. I came upon a big bog full of grass of Parnassus in the midst of the heather and juniper bushes. August the 25th. Cycled through Strathire and Loch and Head to St Fillan's at the head of Loch Erne. The road runs for 6 miles close to the edge of the loch, with the water lapping up on one side and steep woods stretching up the hillside on the other. Haymaking was going on in all the valleys, many of which are flooded with the continuous rains. The berries on the bush are beginning to make themselves conspicuous, notably wild raspberries, which are very plentiful in the highlands, the rowans, and the hips of a species of wild rose which has very large crimson fruit. I gathered the first blackberries at St. Fillan's.
The moorcock spring on whirring wings, among the blooming heather. Come, let us stray our gladsome way and view the charms of nature, the rustling corn, the fruited thorn, and every happy creature.
There has been almost continuous rain in Scotland this month, although in England it has been one of the sunniest months on record. Best, I love September's yellow, morns of dew-strung gossamer, thoughtful days without a stir. Rooky clamours, brazen leaves, stubble dotted o'er with sheaves. More than spring's bright uncontrol suit the autumn of my soul.
He loves me. He loves me not. He loves me.
September the 1st, hottest day we have had here yet. This is the 3rd day of bright sunshine. Cycled through Doon to Dunblane, through well-wooded rolling country with low hills and fine distant views. The road followed the windings of the Teith for a great part of the way. Fair on September 1st, fair for the month. September the 17th. Rode to the top of Loch Venacher to picnic on the shore. None of the trees are turning colour as yet. The brake fern on the hills is beginning to turn bronze and yellow. On the way home, we witnessed a wonderful sunset across the water. The reflected light on the eastern hilltops was gorgeous, all shades of gold and red and brown, deepening into purple and grey shadows at the base of the mountains. There was a curious gold-brown dust lying all over the surface of the loch, which we thought must be heather pollen blown across from the hills. September the 22nd. Walked to the Lake of Menteith. Unlike most of the Scotch lochs, the shores are flat and marshy and surrounded by large beds of reeds, which are a great resort of waterfowl of all kinds. Rowed across to Inchmahone Priory on one of the 2 islands in the middle of the lake. The ruined walls of the priory were green with the tiny spleenwort, and harebells were waving their purple bells aloft from many of the topmost crevices. Here were huge old Spanish chestnut trees, supposed to have been planted by the monks, and the largest nut trees I have ever seen. Most of the chestnut trees were green and vigorous, with wonderful twisted trunks, and covered with fruit, as were the nut trees.
The splendour falls on castle walls, and snowy summits old in story. The long light shakes across the lakes, and the wild cataract leaps in glory. Blow, bugle, blow, set the wild echoes fly. Blow, bugle, answer, echoes, die, die. Die.
Hello! Hello! Hello!
Hello!
Oh hark, oh hear, how thin and clear, and thinner, clearer, farther going. Oh sweet and far from cliff and scar, the horns of Elfland faintly blowing. I love you. I love you. I love you. Blow, let us hear the purple glens reply. Blow, bugle, answer, echoes, die. Die. Die.
While ripening corn grew thick and deep, and here and there men stood to reap, one morn I put my heart to sleep, and to the meadows took my way. The goldfinch on a thistlehead stood scattering seedlets as she fed. The wrens their pretty gossip spread, or joined a random roundelay. Crossing the high ridge of hills between the Teith Valley and the Menteith district, we traversed some extensive peat bogs. The colours of some of the mosses and bog plants were very vivid. The deep crimson and the palest of pale green mosses, and the orange seed vessels of the asphodel being particularly striking. September the 25th. Goodbye to Scotland and back to the Midlands once more. September the 30th. Weather still continues perfect. Hot sun during the day, cold and clear at night, mist in the mornings.
season of mists and mellow fruitfulness, close bosom friend of the maturing sun, conspiring with him how to load and bless with fruit the vines that round the thatch eaves run. To bend with apples the mossed cottage trees, and fill all fruit with ripeness to the core.
October the 1st. There are not many wildflowers left in bloom here now. I gathered some scabious and red dead nettle today, and saw some white convolvulus on the top of a hedge. Blackberries are plentiful, and there is a rich harvest of berries of all kinds. I brought in some boughs laden with chestnuts, and some long necklaces of the bright scarlet berries of the black bryony to paint. October the 10th. Walking through the fields today to Elmdon Park, I saw numbers of the little blue blossoms of the field speedwell. These, and mayweed, pink campion, and a few belated blackberry blossoms were the only wildflowers I saw. The hedges are gay with berries of all kinds. Hips and haws, elderberries, bittersweet, bryony, guelder rose, and blackberries. And the birds were busy feasting among them. The wild service trees in Elmdon Park are a gorgeous colour now. The upper part of the foliage crimson and scarlet, and the lower deep orange. A few of the other trees are beginning to turn colour, but green is the predominating tone of the foliage as yet. I brought home some acorns and some of the fruit of the wild service tree to paint.
But fruits, not blossoms, form the woodland wreath that circles autumn's brow. The ruddy haws now clothe the half-leaved thorn. The bramble bends beneath its jetty load. The hazel hangs with auburn branches, dipping in the stream that sweeps along and threatens to o'erflow the leaf-strewn banks.
October the 14th. Walked to Catherine de Barnes. The cottage gardens are very gay just now, with chrysanthemums, dahlias, and Michaelmas daisies. The cottage walls are covered with great splashes of crimson where the Virginia creeper has turned colour. The tomtits are returning in great numbers to their old haunts in the garden, which they have deserted during the summer. They flutter about the wall and the windows of the house, I believe with the secret hope of finding a coconut waiting for them. Give to me the life I love. Let the lave go by me. Give the jolly heaven above, and the byway nigh me. Bed in the bush with the stars to see. Bread I dip in the river. There's the life for a man like me. There's the life forever. Or let autumn fall on me, where afield I linger, silencing the bird on tree, biting the blue finger. White as meal the frosty field, warm the fireside haven. Not to autumn will I yield, not to winter even. Let the blow fall soon or late, let what will be o'er me. Give the face of earth around, and the road before me. October the 31st. The weather throughout the whole of October has been very mild. November the 1st. Steady drizzle of rain. A regular November day. November the 3rd. I brought home a little book on British toadstools today with photographs of 65 different varieties. In the afternoon, I went to the violet wood to see how many different kinds I could discover. It was quite hot in the sun, and the autumn foliage looked beautiful in the warm afternoon light. In about half an hour's time, I found 10 different species of fungus growing in the wood and adjoining field, all brown in colour, with the exception of 2. One of these was the common sulphur tuft, a rich orange and yellow.
Sulphur tuft, found plentifully among dead wood.
The other was dull pink above and a beautiful pale heliotrope beneath. I only found 1 clump of these, 1 or 2 of them very large in size. November the 13th. A grey, perfectly still morning with a slight fog that veiled the distant woods and trees in a purple mist. Many of the trees were quite bare, but the oaks still have their foliage and were all shades of bronze and brown. The hedges and banks, too, were glowing with the golden tints of nut leaves and bracken, and everywhere there was a delicious autumn scent of fallen leaves. November the 14th. I saw a kingfisher fly across the little pool by the roadside below Oulton Station today. The new catkins are showing on all the hazel and alder trees now. The sun had a most remarkable appearance just before setting tonight. I never saw it look so large in my life. It was deep crimson shaded with purple, which gave it a globular appearance, and it looked like a huge fire balloon suspended against a curtain of grey cloud. November the 26th. Cycled to Solihull and back through the lanes past the oak woods. The sun was shining brightly, lighting up the dying fronds of bracken among the undergrowth. I heard a thrush singing most sweetly in the big beech tree at the top of Kyneton Lane. Sing on, sweet thrush, upon the leafless bough. Sing on, sweet bird, I listen to thy strain, and aged winter, mid his early reign, at thy blithe carol clears his furrowed brow.
December. When all aloud the wind doth blow, and coughing drowns the parson's saw, and birds sit brooding in the snow, and Marion's nose looks red and raw.
December the 1st, very bright and clear with a cold wind from the northeast. For many weeks past, the birds have been coming to be fed in the mornings.
Come on, little ones.
Today I put out a coconut to the great joy of the tomtits. Numbers of them were pecking away at it all through the day, mostly blue tits. December the 7th, hard white frost and fog. This is the first real winter's day we have had. Crowds of birds came to be fed this morning. There were great battles among the tits over the coconut. And once a robin refused to let the tits approach until he had had all he wanted. I don't think the robins really care for coconut, but they don't like to see the tits enjoying anything without claiming a share. December the 9th. We woke up to a storm of whirling snowflakes this morning. The first snow this winter. December the 20th. After a rapid thaw and 4 days of wonderfully mild, still weather without wind or rain, the wind has gone round to the east, and it looks as if we might have a frosty Christmas after all. December the 25th. We woke to a snowy Christmas morning, sunshine later, and sharp frost at night.
December 30th. The frost still holds. Snowed lightly throughout the day. The birds have become wonderfully bold this last week since their usual hunting grounds have been buried in snow. The blackbirds and thrushes are usually rather shy and fly away at the approach of anyone, but now they only hop away to a little distance and sit watching with their bright eyes, waiting to go back to their feast of crumbs. A naked house, a naked moor, a shivering pool before the door, a garden bare of flowers or fruit, and poplars at the garden foot. Such is the place that I live in, bleak without and bare within. Yet shall your ragged moor receive the incomparable pomp of eve, and the gold glories of the dawn behind your shivering trees be drawn. And when the wind from place to place doth the unmoored cloud galleons chase, the garden gloom and gleam again with leaping sun and glancing rain.
And here shall the wizard moon ascend the heavens in the crimson end of day's declining splendor. Here
the armies of the stars appear. The neighbouring hollows, dry and wet, spring shall with tender flowers beset, and oft the morning muses see larks rising from the broomy lea, and every fairy wheel and thread of cobweb dew bediamonded. When daisies go, shall winter-time silver the simple grass with rime, autumnal frosts enchant the pool and make the cart-ruts beautiful, and when snow bright the moor expands, how shall your children clap their hands? To make this earth our hermitage, a cheerful and a changeful place, God's bright and intricate device of days and seasons doth suffice.